You won't believe the real reason why the Nuggets fired Michael Malone, a coach that has been with one team for 10 years, ranks number one in wins in franchise history, and leads the team to their only title in their 56-year existence, does not grow on trees, let alone get fired with 3 games left in the regular season. We'll get into how this could affect the Nuggets' title chances, what's next for Michael Malone, and what this means for the coaches across the league. But first, I need your reaction to this unbelievable situation.
I mean, my reaction, nothing is going to faze me anymore when it comes to the NBA world at the minimum. Maybe even the sports world for what we've seen this year. Luka getting traded. Taylor Jenkins getting fired just a couple of weeks ago with 9 games remaining, and we thought that was insane. We thought we had the Nuggets as the second best team in the West to win a championship, and they fired their coach. Yes, we'll get into logistics in a second here, but like this NBA season has been crazy. We've seen crazier seasons before. This just got even more insane, and yeah, I don't know. I did not see this coming.
It has to be a ploy. It generally does. Luka gets traded. Well, Jenkins gets fired. Well, like with Jenkins, we thought like
Yeah,
in the
he might have
offseason.
gone fired in the offseason.
But Mike Malone, in a tier list, if we do an NBA coaches tier list like how we did the NFL in the past, would have been easily safe.
And which is insane to me because like now what? He's the only head coaches that have not been fired that have won a championship in recent memory is Steve Kerr and recently Joe Mazzulla. As recent as we can get with Joe Mazzulla. Otherwise, Nick Nurse gone, Frank Vogel gone, not once but twice. Mike Budenholzer will be gone probably twice now, and then now you throw in Michael Malone.
So with this situation, it's not just Mike Malone getting fired. The Nuggets cleaned house because Calvin Booth, the GM of the Denver Nuggets, who helped also the Nuggets win their first ever title in franchise history, is also gone. So Calvin Booth gone, Michael Malone gone, no GM at the moment, but who takes the head coaching spot? And that is assistant coach David Adelman.
David Adelman was in contention for a lot of coaching jobs last couple of years. Obviously, I think with you guys, before you guys went with Darko, was one of your choices. I'm not sure if he was a finalist. The Lakers talked to him last year before ultimately getting JJ Redick as well. So he was a well-sorted head coach that was going to probably get a job at some point. Is this going to be his permanent job? I don't know yet. We'll find out what happens in the playoffs and see how the players adapt to him. In terms of play style stuff, nothing's really going to change in my opinion. I think it should be similar-ish. We'll see. Honestly, stuff could still change. Like we've seen the Cole Casey to Nurse situation with you guys.
Yeah.
So there might be some differences, but nothing out of left field.
I doubt it. Like,
yeah.
he doesn't have time to do that.
Exactly.
Right?
Right?
You can't really adopt a new play style within 3 games just to prepare for the playoffs. The real reason why Michael Malone and Calvin Booth were let go. Apparently, they're beefing. They do not like each other. They do not like each other. There was dysfunction between head coach and GM, and the owner had enough.
Talking about the tension between the two, where it potentially could have been started from, right? Like I say, the coach and GM have to work together to see what type of players the coach wants and can the GM get. It might have started from the championship year. Bruce Brown gone, right? Weren't able to pay him. And I get it. When you win a championship, the Warriors did the same thing. They extended Wiggins. They extended Jordan Poole, right? And then that's what usually happens. In this case, they weren't able. I guess they extended Porter. I don't know how many years into if he had his extension at that point, but Jamal obviously got an extension as well, and obviously Jokic is gonna get an extension in general. But yeah, so Bruce Brown gone, right? One of your better defenders. Then you got a year or two later, this past year, Caldwell Pope gone. So you got rid of 2 solid vets that helped you defensively as well. Where are they ranked defensively this year? 20th. Jokic reportedly frustrated with the defense. Now, Jokic isn't the greatest defensive player himself, but that being said, if there was an award of Offensive Player of the Year in the NBA, he easily gets that award.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, you had KCP in those championship years defending the best guard or best perimeter player on the other team, right? Bruce Brown coming off the bench was just, again, another energizer, spark plug, and playing tenacious defense.
Yeah.
Now, all you're left was Aaron Gordon. That's like generally all.
I believe they extended him as well.
Yeah, that's generally all you're left with. Like, here's a rule with winning a championship. Your goal is trying to extend or keep as much of the championship roster as you possibly can to try to push for another one. And at the end of that moment, we had 6 people of the Nuggets core that they needed to keep. Obviously, the starting lineup was Murray, Pope, Porter, Gordon, Jokic, and then Bruce Brown. those were the 6 main pieces of that championship run. And obviously they lost Bruce Brown, and then a year later they lost KCP. It's not surprising that they have fallen down, because I know they still have their main pieces. Like, if you're looking at your main 3, right, main 1, especially with Jokic, like they have them. But like at the end of the day, it's a roster that wins a championship, right? And it's clear that those 6 players, each of them had a pivotal role.
Now, that being said, Booth did draft well. Julian Strother, obviously, Christian Brown. The thing is, like, last year was disappointing. They should have been in the finals last year. They arguably should have been back-to-back champions.
Yeah.
Right? They're the one team that I said that could have beaten the Celtics when it comes to out of the whole NBA, right? So the other reason why there was another tension that when I was looking into this was David Booth. Calvin Booth wanted Malone to play the young guys. He was upset that Russell Westbrook was getting more minutes. And I forget the other guy's name. It's on my phone, which is on the recording right now. I forget who the other young guy they wanted to play was. But they wanted him to play more. Malone is trying to win games. At the end of the day, his job isn't just to develop young talent, especially with their team right now with Jokic and Murray. So he was trying to win games. Russell Westbrook at the time putting him to the starting lineup helped him win games. So ideologies obviously completely different. Throw in ownership here. They didn't want Michael Porter Jr. to get traded. He was a trade candidate this offseason to free up some cap space for certain pieces, right? And then when it comes to the Malone side of things, as I mentioned earlier, with the player losing the locker room, there's apparently a report that he was not hard on Jokic, that one, whatever, and Jamal Murray. Rubbed off the other guys the wrong way, to a certain degree. So I get that standpoint, and even with Michael Malone, you've seen him on the sidelines, like he could get pissed off immediately at his teams if nothing at his way, right?
I mean, I've seen this guy talk shit about his team in the pressers so many times in interviews.
Match up to a team to a certain degree as well.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like if it's all this reported dysfunction and they're still like so successful this season, I know that it hasn't been the same dominant Denver Nuggets, but they're still, at the end of the day, they're still going to go into postseason, whether it be playoff or play-in. They're still going to have a chance to win the NBA championship.
But the last thing before we move on here is that ownership has come out essentially said, and which I disagree with, is they just want to have a spark, like a new coach's bump, which we'll get into the playoff outlook in a second. I disagree with that because I get it. I see why the Grizzlies fired their coach. And I gave you my reasoning in that video. This one, you have a championship winning head coach. You're in a tight Western Conference open. Any team, pretty much any team can win the Western Conference, in my opinion, this year, outside of maybe the Grizzlies and maybe the Rockets. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So even if they are somewhat struggling, you have a coach that's been there, done that, and the team with its main core pieces been there, done that, get the wins. So you wanting a coach's bump at this point of the year does not make sense to me as well. They're pretty much buying the ideology of like, it didn't work during the regular season. We're currently in a 4-game losing streak. How would this work in the playoffs? Shit changes. If that was the case, the Cleveland Cavaliers should have fired their head coach when they were in a losing streak a month ago.
Exactly, right? So yeah, it's very stupid. And we're going to move on here. But before we do, we'll appreciate if you guys smash the like and subscribe button if you're enjoying the video. We make multiple videos a week about the NHL, NBA, and the NFL just like this. So we appreciate if you guys hit the subscribe button and join the club. But let's get into our next point, which is the Nuggets title hopes. And obviously, the easy answer is they have took a dip. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that the Denver Nuggets are in a situation where they might not even have a solidified playoff spot because, like we mentioned before, the West is so tight that they could even dip down to the 7th. In our latest video of our NBA playoff run, we had the Denver Nuggets up there, like solidified in there, but obviously that recent 4-game losing streak and now this news, I can't guarantee that anymore.
There's 4 through 7 now only have 32 losses. The Minnesota Timberwolves just lost. Milwaukee came back on them and beat them. So that ruined the Timberwolves' chance to get a win to make it 47-32. The Golden State Warriors right now are beating the Phoenix Suns, and the way that's rolling, I'm banking on the Warriors to close that game out. So which means you have, and then we'll see what the Clippers do. I don't know what the tiebreaker situation is. They could easily fall to the play-in. and then have a rematch with the Timberwolves for the first round right now.
So
right
like,
now they're matched up with the Grizzlies, and that's the best case scenario for them.
so like we said in the NBA playoff race, we're not going to predict it just because it's just so tight. Like it is genuinely unpredictable.
If you're
but we're going to talk about this. This is what we're going to talk about. Say they make the playoffs, but what's going to happen in the playoffs, right? A lot more pressure is going to be on Jokic, obviously. Every team, whoever they match up, is going to focus on Nikola Jokic. And obviously he will get it done at the end of the day.
I'm not too worried.
Yeah. Jamal Murray, depending if the
He's
Lakers...
injured at the moment and his hamstring is causing issues again, which is causing...
One, if he's healthy, that's a big issue. Two, if it's the Lakers, he'll probably cook. And three, in general...
Yeah, true.
it's playoff Murray. He does show up. Obviously, last year he struggled a bit.
Well, last year was just Laker Murray.
Yeah, last year was just Laker Murray. But like at the end of the day, we've seen this guy come out and play in the playoffs before when it mattered, like in the bubble and a couple years ago in the championship run. So when I'm looking at this team, and I know they lost their head coach, I shouldn't see much of a difference personally. I'm not.
Yeah, you definitely have a different tone from the Grizzlies one.
Yeah, because here's the difference with the Grizzlies one and this one.
Denver has Jokic.
Denver has Jokic, right? Denver has a championship. Denver has
a championship core. They have the best player in the world.
They have the best player in the world,
and arguably an MVP this year.
Like, don't be wrong. This firing is more stupid than the Memphis Grizzlies ones. I'm 100% saying that. But in terms of like effects in the postseason, I think the Memphis Grizzlies are gonna feel the effects more than the Denver Nuggets.
Which is weird to say because I was looking at certain on like Denver Nuggets Twitter to a sense. So there are fans out there that wanted him fired. They didn't expect it to happen today.
Yeah.
At the time of this recording, because we are recording on the day of the firing, there were people. There was literally a Twitter page called "I want Malone fired." Like, so there are people out there that are maybe tired of him what he's doing in the fans wise in the in the press conference or how his team's going across. But again, 2 years after winning a championship is still beyond me. You could have given him one last playoff run to see what he was capable of. So I don't get that part of it. And the last thing with this is like we're talking about Jokic. Jokic must have had a say in this, right? I don't know. I can't say that. I can't speak for the man. It's Jokic. He loves his horses, right? So we don't know. We can't get the stuff out of him.
He wants to be a low-key guy.
Yeah.
So I would assume he did it.
Now, he was big factor why Westbrook's on the team.
He was. I would assume he didn't. But at the end of the day, if he did, whatever he said was going to happen.
Here's the playoff outlook.
I'll say that much.
If we're going back to the playoff outlook very quickly here, will you be surprised if they get to the conference finals?
No.
Will you be surprised if they get to the NBA finals?
A little bit, but like at the end of the day, like that's more so being the West being so tough and then on them.
Like I said, I'm not confident with any team going to the final, including OKC to a certain degree.
Yeah. Because that's how tight it is. That's the Western Conference. So you can't be confident in any team making the finals because the competition is so tough. Like it's so legit. So when I'm looking at this, at the end of the day, they lost their head coach. They didn't lose Jokic. That's as simple as that. It's like the Oilers, right? For example, if I'm changing it to NHL, right? They say they don't have their head coach. Still have McDavid and Draisaitl. And I'm still going to have confidence.
Yeah.
So because of Nikola Jokic, I have confidence.
And yes, you need others to rely on it. There's going to be fresh, like I said, to the Cronkies, I do agree to a certain degree. There might be a breath of fresh air there because obviously we saw like all the quotes I mentioned earlier of what I saw earlier and how Malone was quoting during press conferences. So it could be a breath of fresh air and they're going to play open freely. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But overall, we'll see, right? Like, yeah, you're right. The Grizzlies one, I'm just saying that's more of a future move. This one, I don't know if Adelman keeps the job as well. We don't know.
We don't know that. But let's move on to Michael Malone himself. And obviously he's going to be, now there's two solid hot candidates for future head coaching jobs. And that's obviously Mike Malone and Taylor Jenkins. And
they're both getting jobs next year.
They're both, like to make a long story short, I'm not going to drag that part. They're both going to get jobs.
So who will Michael Malone go to? And I have a couple of teams I've said, I'm going to say right now. I have said one, and they're pretty much similar to the Taylor Jenkins one as well. The Spurs immediately come to mind because we don't know what's happening with Pop's health. That's the main reason why.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, get well soon, Pop. If the Milwaukee Bucks get out of the first round, is Doc Rivers fired?
How is he not fired?
He has another excuse built in.
Yeah, I know.
Blood clot.
I know. But I'm just saying. So if Michael Malone got fired, how the hell is Doc Rivers not fired? That's what I'm going to bring up. So
Michael Malone, I think that's the perfect spot for him. Genuinely. I think that's a really good spot for him to go there.
Yeah.
The other rumored spot, once again, Nick Nurse. We don't know what's happening there. I won't fire Nick Nurse if that's me personally, but if I'm going with that, I'm going with the Bucks and I'm looking at the Suns. The Suns have missed the play in completely. Look, it's looking like that way, right?
So here's what I'm gonna. I agree with the other teams, and if I was Mike Malone,
Sacramento's available.
Yeah.
He's not going to Sacramento because he got fired by Sacramento.
yeah.
So he hates Sacramento.
If I'm Mike Malone, and I want to leave on bad terms, which is already been bad terms, I'll go to Phoenix Suns, try to get some revenge, right? So I know like the situation be a little bit.
Well,
tough
he needs to
because,
look at
like,
Phoenix's situation.
Yeah,
What's happening with the roster there?
If the roster is the same, I'm like screw the Denver Nuggets, I want revenge, I'll go to Denver. But in terms of like what you said in Milwaukee,
You have Giannis there.
you have Giannis there, and he's gonna play both sides of the ball.
And he's literally in the conversation of the best player in the NBA at
Yeah.
every given year, right? Raptor fan, what are you saying?
I
I
would.
mean, you guys did extend took
did say-
the option for what you got Darko.
Well, I can't really say much at the end of the day. Like, would I fire him to get Mike Malone? Yes, I would. But since we already picked up the option, I doubt that's gonna happen.
Who knows?
And,
But the option was picked up before he got.
that is true. So, but overall, like, you could see us, we're trying to clearly tank. And overall, but it's like, here's the thing with the Raptors, quickly with this. They're trying to do a quick rebuild, right? That's
Michael Malone is actually a solid guy for that.
So Darko at the end of the day is a player's coach in terms of he's more so, I guess, for player development. Mike Malone is the guy who will get you over the top because he's done it. It took him a long
You
time
have
to do
the
it. But
talent.
so yeah, so Mike Malone does fit. That's just if we fire Darko Rajakovic.
Like, there's a lot of coaches teams that could fire their coach to get this guy in, right? That can help him put over the top. And like I said, if I'm Milwaukee and I'm seeing what happens in the first or second round, I'm pouncing on this as soon as I possibly can.
That is true. But obviously Mike Malone is fired. But we just gotta bring up this conversation. And
Yeah.
we've said this many times where head coaches get the blame a lot. Right? And yes, there are situations inside the locker room or behind the scenes that we do not know about, so we can't fully comment about. But what we do know and what we could see is that head coaches are usually the first people to go when something goes wrong. And it's the same thing that happened here, except the difference at this time is the guy that's been there for 10 years and the only title in their franchise's history. And is a
Which is hilarious. The two guys that got fired in the last 2 weeks were franchise leaders.
and wins.
And obviously, in this case, he won the championship.
So
Yeah, like I've said it many times on and off camera that Frank Vogel should not have been fired from the Lakers. I've said that. I am the same guy I was also kind of gonna say he should not have been fired from the Suns. Clearly, look at this year. People are saying that Vogel should have won Coach of the Year last year with what he did with the Suns because Budenholzer couldn't do it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was never sold on Budenholzer in general. So the fact that he won a championship, I'm not gonna discredit what he has done. I'm not gonna say, oh, it was Giannis and Middleton carried you to a chip, blah blah blah. The thing is, yeah, like.
Because if this happened,
Like this, in this case, how much do I blame Booth? Yes, he could have brought back more defensive players or whatever the case may be. That's the thing. But I also got to look at the players, right? Like, this guy's a championship winning head coach. You cannot, like, we're seeing that with Talkit this year as Canucks fans. We're seeing that with other coaches and various different sports. Steichen for us, again, as Colts fans, to a certain degree. Oh, these guys are, now, in that case, I don't think the players are bought out on him. There's like words going around, like you cannot, once shit goes bad, you cannot pout like a little kid.
and that's what happened in the NBA, right?
It happens like in multiple sports, not even in
It
the
happens
NBA.
in multiple sports, but NBA players pout the most when shit goes bad, right? Other than them wanting out, them not playing, or this stuff happens. And I know I agree with you. This head coaching stuff happens in multiple sports, but in generals, I think that just shows how, like, in my opinion, NBA players in terms of when situations go bad are softer than any other athletes in the world, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the
Like
day,
that's a fact.
who
in my
makes
opinion.
more money, the players or the coaches?
The players, yeah,
In all sports, respectively, right? So
exactly.
they're gonna like who do the fans come out and see?
The players.
So if the players are the ones complaining and pouting, obviously the ownership and GM, even to a certain degree, are going to listen to the players, right? So it's the coaches get the hardest, like, shit, I guess. Take the biggest, biggest in this.
At the end of the day, like, I know it's a part of the job. Like, a lot of head coaches come out in the press conference and say, "Yeah, this is my bad. This is my fault. The team wasn't prepared enough." As much as they want to yell in the locker room, at the end of the day, when it comes to the public, almost all of them take the blame.
Imagine winning a championship and you're thinking, yeah, my job security is gonna be fine. Budenholzer got an immediate extension after winning the championship, which is
fair.
deserved, which is fair.
Deserved.
And then in 2 years you're gone. Jokic has never had another head coach. I don't know about Murray, but Murray got drafted after, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, Jokic has never had another head coach. So it's gonna be interesting to see if, like, I really want to know. I want to be a fly on the wall in this situation. Like, what must have went wrong, right? So it's weird to say. Usually the long-term coaches end up staying for a bit, like Spoelstra, like a Kerr.
Yeah.
And the short-term ones end up going away, like Vogel and like now like Budenholzer to a certain degree, and we'll see what happens. So no one's safe. That's the best way I could put it.
No one is
Especially in the NBA world, nothing will no longer surprise me. Remember, anytime I ask you a question, hypothetically, you cannot tell me, and that's never gonna happen anymore.
Yeah, no, but I'm still not gonna answer those questions because it's just so out there.
But this year has proved otherwise.
Yeah, it genuinely has. But we've mentioned this in this video, and I'm gonna say it one more time. March 28th, the Memphis Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins, and we're gonna give a deep dive and a breakdown of our reaction in a video popping up to my right. So guys, we'll catch you guys over there, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.